Welcome to episode 2 of Born of Love. I'm Alexander. Pain. There's just no way of escaping it in life. If we try to run from it, we just end up trapped in a bunch of vices and distractions that hurt us even further, sometimes to the point of death. But worst of all, we hurt the people we love the most, and the crushing weight of the pain we tried to flee from but never faced gets put on the shoulders of our little children. Pain is a curse that must be broken, especially when it's passed from the parents to the children, from generation to generation. And the only way I know how to do that is by facing pain head on and walking through it with our Creator as our guide, and His torment our entry point to redemption and freedom. Now we're gonna hear how Duck faced his pain and walked through it, using spiritual Lakota values to help heal and make sense of all his childhood suffering and loneliness. Our anguish is not for nothing. And if you can work your way through yours, then I can work through mine. Maybe we can walk through this pain together and put back the pieces of our broken hearts.
My name is Donald Anthony Long Soldier. I'm Tituan Oglala Lakota. Sioux, I guess you can call it. I was raised in Denver, Colorado, born in Wyoming, but raised in Denver, Colorado. My family comes from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. I came back in 1995, and this is part of my story.
Born in Wyoming?
Yes.
How'd you end up going to Denver?
Well, my mom was living here in Pine Ridge, and so when she was here, she understood that she was related to a lot of people, and she couldn't be with anybody because everyone was related. And she just really wanted security, I guess, and so she took off. And after boarding school, she came out and then had kids and had a hard time because I had 4 older brothers and sisters, and it was the AIM days. It was 73, right? It was 70, yeah. She was leaving all of these things happening on the reservation, and she was taking care of us. After she had me, she just took off towards Denver in 73. I was born in 71. But she migrated to Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and then, from here to Chadron, Nebraska, and then to Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and then to Denver, Colorado. And that's where she started raising me from there. You want to hear from the beginning?
Yeah, let's just start at the beginning, some of your first memories.
Well, I remember a lot when I was little. Believe it or not, I believe that I was being born. I seen a color red, and then I seen a doctor, and then I seen an incubator, and then that's what I remember. I remember as I was growing up, I remember being laying in the crib. I believe this was the first time anything spiritual happened with me, just because I remember laying in the crib, and I remember the mobile above. I remember it was nighttime and the lights from the street. We lived on the 3rd floor in Denver, Colorado, and there was a light, and and going up, and you could see the crib shadow on this side. It was like a regular from the street light, and then it turned blue. And all of a sudden it turned blue, and I was blacked out. And when I came to, I was in a corner, and I looked down, and my mom and my auntie and a priest was there, and they were praying, but my mom and them were crying. And I was trying to reach and reaching for them, and I noticed I didn't have no arms or nothing, but it felt, I could feel it, you know, and just like a snap, I was back, and I was looking up, and they were crying. And after that, I remember being changed, you know, being crawling, my sister and them calling me and teaching me how to walk, crawling all over to eat everything up. I know, I asked a lot of people, and they always say they can't remember younger than 2, but you know, I can, you know, I remember a lot. So it was, you know, I believe it was that time that I left, because everybody that leaves and comes back in comas, and you know, they're different there. And so I believe that I was more focused into what's going on in life instead of what life's about. And so growing up, I remember going on through school, you know, wondering about adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, expecting. You know, I was expected to do a lot in my life. Growing up in Denver, I was 6 years old, and my mom married a black man named John Bradshaw. And, you know, we was living in a apartment first when we moved. My mom moved to Denver, and we was going to school. And she met the black guy. He told us, we're gonna go to this house. We're gonna move to this house. We're gonna have to sleep on the floor for a couple of days, but I promise you kids that in 2 days that we'll have furniture. And mentioned that him and my mom were getting married, and you know, then he said we'll have all the furniture, get you all you want, and so we're all happy that we're gonna be living better, live rich or whatever. And so we moved to that house, and 2 days later, we had to lay on the hardwood floor. It was a nice 2-bedroom duplex house. 2-bedroom. It was 4 bedrooms, 1 downstairs, 3 upstairs, bathroom. Anyways, we moved in there, laid on the floor in front of the fireplace. And 2 days later, they told us to come out at night. You know, we came over 2 nights later. We went outside to go watch these 2 trucks pull in, 2 semi-loads pull in, and then all these black guys got out, and they started unloading everything, and they put all the furniture in the house. So when they were done, we went inside, and everything was brand new. Kitchen, you know, all the furniture, everything, the living room, dining room, kitchen, forks, spoons, you know, everything was brand new. And that was good, you know, we were happy. We were just kids, so we was just happy. The next day we were told that we're gonna go to this school, and so we went to school. We went with my mom and my stepdad and went to the school, and they left us. They told us we're gonna be there and after school wait for my older brother and sister, and they'll pick us up to take us home. But we went through school that day. It was time to go home. When we left, my little brothers and sister, I told them, let's just go. And because my oldest brother and sister never came, so we just start walking home. It started sprinkling, and it's the dirt, the mud or whatever. It was just little drops, so we just took off and went to the house and opened the door and went inside. I opened the door, went inside before my brother and sister, and stepped in and remembered, we said, we're at a new house, so we got to take off our shoes. So we start taking off our shoes. My brother and sister were on the porch taking off theirs. I was in the doorway taking off mine, and here I got jerked from my shirt. I got my jacket, I got pulled, and all I seen was the air, the hallway. And then I remember the where you go under into the living room. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing that divider part go by, and then seeing a couch, and then going towards that couch and getting pushed on it. When I turned to look to see who it was, I just seen a black hand, like my stepdad's hand, and grabbed a cord, and the lamp was right there. He jerked it off of there, and he just started hitting me, pulled my pants down, and started whooping me, and started saying I thought in syllables, not in, a few hits and you've been bad or whatever. It was syllables like, I told you to take your shoes off, and he whooped me and stopped, and that's the first time I got abused, physically.
What was your age at that time?
I was 6 years old. I was 5 years old because I was in kindergarten.
And you just knew this man for a couple days at that point?
Well, I knew him from him coming and seeing my mom maybe about a couple months or something. I would believe, but I was a kid. So mm-hmm. I just remember him being with my mom and then coming and telling us, I might have said 6 years old, but I was 5 years old when all of this started happening with me. Is that after that, it was like I just remember growing up and my stepdad having all these excuses for whooping me. We didn't go to church. If we wake up late for church, if we come home late from church, if we come home late from school, if we come home after dark, all these different reasons to whoop us, We didn't clean the yard right away. We didn't go out and clean the yard right away. I remember throwing my brother a football, and then after my brother went to go catch it, I got pulled. I didn't even get time to see him catch it. I got jerked up and seen the air and then the ground, and I just seen some leaves go by. I was in shorts, and I just started getting whooped in my legs and with the switch. Just for not right away cleaning the yard, He told us to clean the yard, and first thing we did was go out and want to play catch with the football right away, Go for a pass, But we was going to clean it, it's just didn't have that time. And, I think that's what raised me to be, more understanding of her spirit, because I was looking for, after that, I was a black sheep because after we moved to Denver, she was with this black man, and he started having kids, and I was the middle one from, I don't know, I don't want to blame middle ones, but I know that I was one with a different dad. And my dad was Charlie Long Soldier, but I was growing up Donald Hernandez. My mom went through birth certificate or baptismal record and named us, her kids, gave us birth certificates to get in school. And so the only one there was Alvin Hernandez, who my brother knows from here. He's from here in Kyle. He was the father of my brothers and sisters, and he told her not to tell me that I had a different dad, that my dad was Charlie Long Soldier. So I grew up, my brother and sister, and them telling me at least I know who my dad is, And then my John, my stepdad, the black one, my brother and sister there, telling me at least my dad's here for me, So it was pretty much getting blamed and getting whooped for everything, And so it was like, pain ain't nothing after you start getting whooped, after you know that it's gonna happen, it's just, all right, well, we're gonna go get whooped to get ready. And I used to go first because I didn't want my brother and sister getting whooped as much or as hard, So and I just wanted to get over right away. And so that pain didn't even hurt, it just more like stung. But then it just turned into a big, like, heartbeat, a warm heartbeat. And then it hurt it for a while walking, but it just went away. So it was like something I had to get used to. And so in school, growing up in the 70s, it was so racist, racism, white, black, and Indian, you don't want to be an Indian because people were making fun of Indians in Denver, Colorado, in 70, 76, 77, 75, all them years, them 70s. And so growing up in school, we'd get picked on and I'd start, my mom, my grandma, they told us not to be afraid that we're Indian and to always be proud and to fight. And when we're fighting, once we hit them, keep on hitting them and don't stop. And, win, fight to win. And if you have to, grab something, but just win. And I grew up with that thought and that it's in school when people would, pick on my brothers or my sisters or me. And so fighting in school was a regular thing, because at home I was getting whooped. So at school it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt when somebody punched me or hit me in the side because I always knew it would heal. So, just growing up with that pain, with that thought.
You made an indication that being abused in this way made you grow spiritually. What was the correlation there between the two?
Probably loneliness. When I was alone, looking for people, at least someone who would, be there and notice this life with me, It was, excuse me, but it was most like the spiritual part would be, I didn't have nobody. I wouldn't have no one. And what would help me out? And I went to church, but I was getting whooped because of church. I went to different Baptist. I went to Jewish. I went to Muslim. I went to a lot of them. And I only left them because once they told me that I was gonna burn for something I didn't do, and I knew that I wasn't in, I always felt that I wasn't in control of this life, that I was just here because of that being alone, So being alone, I had time to think, and instead of killing myself, I hid. I had to hide, and I hid from. I know it was in this when the sun was out. Maybe it wasn't down. Maybe about now, after evening. Maybe when it started evening, but I remember the sun was out, and I was gonna get whooped because I didn't take the trash out, and so they were looking for me, hollering, yelling, and at one of them, oh, you're gonna get, oh, what did you do? Them yells. So I took off and I just hid because I didn't want to get whooped. And I went to the house next door. It was in a duplex, so we went to the house next door in the basement in the crawl space and hid in there. And I could hear them calling me and yelling for me and nothing. I didn't want to answer. And they even went down in the basement and looked around and they didn't find me. I was just ended up falling asleep. I woke up and remembering, I was wondering what I should do, and I thinking about suicide, and I was like, no, my mom always told me things will be better, things will be better. Just don't worry, things will be better. So I just came out of the crawl space, came out the basement, and was thinking about going back, but I didn't want to get whooped, just for the trash. And so I took off. I was 8 years old, and I took off, and I remembered the numbers, and they're going up to 25, and then remembered my auntie lived, go that, turn that way, turn left. So I turned left, and I was going down and wondering what street, because I remembered there was an end of it. And so before I got there, I looked on the porch, and there was my cousins. They were wondering how I got there, how'd you do that? And I just found it. So I thought I was safe, and here the next morning they sent me back. But, besides, that was just a moment in my life, but, there's other times, but it happened from when I was 5 till I was 15, It seemed like every day, but I believe maybe at least once a week it happened, but that's enough to, raise me to not be afraid of nothing.
So once a week you would get beaten in your home, or is that also
That
and
it
then
felt like, yeah,
plus at school and
fighting.
fighting at school, and you said at churches they were hurting you too?
No, at the church it always really, they was trying to, like more like control. It's more controlling. That's why I never liked going to them, because they were in, more of a control thing. The ones that scared me were them monks, because they didn't want to keep their hands off of me, come over here, child, and, rubbing my back and go over there and feed us milk and cookies because we're playing outside on the bow with, and so they invite us to sit and eat milk and cookies and visit with them and listen to their, their part. It just wasn't comfortable for me when I was a kid, but I tried it when I was older and started learning about their, I didn't want to live that way. There was a church in Denver, and it had a big bowl that was made of metal, so we like bars, like monkey bars, so we just used to play on it a lot.
So were you going to these various churches, mosques, synagogues by yourself as a kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
While I was growing up, just they were all over in the city, so I would just be bored and want to go somewhere and see something. But I would always go to church. My mom would always make us go to church. So, when we stopped, I was probably when I was about 12, I think, when I, my mom just knew she couldn't keep us from going, from not going to church. So we didn't go. In Denver, when I was in the 5th grade, me and my brother and my cousin came, and he told me, let's go to these. He was into ninjutsu, ninja stuff. He was always karate stars and even had an outfit. He'd run all over and have that. He told me and my brother, he said, let's go to these martial arts places and we could go for 30 days. And when they ask us to have our parents sign paper, we just go to a different one, we'll leave. Okay. So we go, we learn the basics. 30 days later, we leave karate. Boom, go to kung fu. Boom, go to ninjutsu. Go to aikido. Go to taekwondo. Go to all these places, these martial arts. Because what I'm learning is the basics, and the basics are good enough because what I loved was boxing, But then learning all of these things was teaching me more about my heart and my mind, and about being humble, about my space, and about what I can do, what I can't do, what I should and shouldn't do. It was teaching me a lot. And so it was, it's what I took from him, and listening to him and putting this and that together, and just growing up, man. I didn't know I was MMA fighting. I didn't know none of that was going on. I started lifting weights. I was in junior high school. I knew that, my stepdad was a big, muscle black guy, so I didn't, I was thinking about paying him back, and getting him back for all the times he did that. But, my mom told me, if you love me, you ain't gonna hurt him. If you love me, if you want to do something to him, then just leave. And I didn't want to leave my mom that young.
Did your mom stick up for you at all? Was he hurting her as well, or?
Yeah, he was abusing her, and being from a boarding school, coming out, having kids, and needing help, and the only help she seen was she knew control. So when she found that help, that someone would help, but they were in control, she was used to control, because they would whoop her, and she'd tell me about them whooping her in boarding school. So that control, I don't know, I was a kid, so, seeing her get beat and stuff, I didn't know what I could do to help, She was afraid of him, but I knew that she stayed strong in it, and she always looked at me and told me, I'll be okay, I'll be all right, and she did, and that it went by. After something happened and they got arrested and started telling on each other, and so he started telling on someone too, so he more like stayed away from everybody, and he got paroled, so my mom started having more control, and after that, it's like nobody wanted him around. His friends, he couldn't go around or nothing because of whatever happened in his life. But he more just went to work and came home a lot, and after I was 15, though, he stopped, and he knew that we were getting older, and we always remember him. But my mom was the main one that really stopped us from doing anything. And so...
Was he a drinker or a drug user or anything?
He drank beer and whiskey early, Yeah, he was, till I was 15, till he got paroled for whatever he got in trouble for. And he sobered up, and everything just stopped. My mom started taking control, but for me, in getting to high school, 15 years old, 14 years old, and I'm going to high school and walking. And then the Crips start coming, gangs start coming out. We grew up, things to do with breakdance, You'd go downtown and break dance, pull out a cardboard, spin around and dance on it. But gangs start coming out, hitting, mean mug and then dance. But these guys you mean mug and they start hitting you. And so then people start having, then Warriors, the movie came out, and that people start being in gangs. And my oldest brother was in a gang called the Winos in Denver, Colorado. And, it was just cool because he, cholos and lowriders and, just the people he was around. I wanted to grow up and do something like that, But, when I went to high school and I was walking to school, I seen these black guys jumping another black guy, some Crip guys. They were saying cuz and jumping up. I just seen them every time I'm walking to school, then they'll start picking on people. And then other people would be saying they're Crips that, I wasn't, I was friends with them, then they start being Crips. And I'm like, I don't have to join no gang, And me and my brother and cousin, and, we didn't want to be in no gang. And while I was going to school one day, I just got tired of it. And yeah, I went to work after school. I went to work, and then that's when I seen them jumping this Mexican boy at school. And then after that I went to work, and then I was coming from work in the evening, and I looked on the bus, and I seen, I was 15, and I seen these black guys around the Indian guy. And so I was wondering what's going on, and all of a sudden they surrounded him and started hitting him. So I got up and I was ready to go off the bus, and he shut the doors and just kept going. And so the next stop, I was like, well, it's probably too late. They're probably, it's probably over. So I just stayed on the bus and went home, went to school the next day, and I was mad, thinking about him, because I heard about him on the news. They were beating him up with golf clubs to be crippled so they could be Crips. So anyways, I went to school and I got mad, and I told him, hey, I want to be a Blood, because there were Bloods at East High School, and at Manual were Crips. And over there, I just told him, well, I want to be a Blood. And it was more gangbanging because I wasn't scared of the pain of fighting or anything. It was seeing people fight, and I would just, in my neighborhood, it was like I seen all these people be gangs, and I just had to, because I was an Indian, and AIM was red, and they were good people. And so my blood started happening, not because of gangs. It only happened because my relationships to people. And like I said, I was growing up a black sheep and wanting to be, something or somebody or someone, and these people accepted me, my friends. And so it was more like, friendship thing that, I'm tired of this happening in the hood or the neighborhood, and we want to make it better. But I couldn't change it in my neighborhood because everybody was Crips. Mm-hmm. And I had to leave and go out there to my friends, and everybody knew. I grew up with them on the east side, so all them were Crips. They knew me and my family, and they knew where we lived, And so it was growing up, I was more praying, for me it was more of going around and helping people out and helping people be better, and to remember why we're together, So it more like kept me out of trouble because all my friends ended up going to prison or dying.
So you said you would pray during it, like pray for people, or what do you mean?
Well, I said it was more like praying, I was in prayer. Now that I look at it, because, the life that I lived there, the life I lived in Denver wasn't good. It was survival. It was recognition that we're not going to be no little sissy Indians for nobody. We're going to be strong Indians but being a bad person wasn't what we were about. My mom always told me we always had respect. You gotta, so it was more like going out there and when I was around a big gang in a group and we were talking and I told them we gotta have respect. How can we be a good gang where we get more people to join if we're being disrespectful? Someone wants to be with the gang who has fun, who's happy. So, let's show them that, how we can party and, have fun. If that's what it's supposed to be about. That's what we all supposed to be about, and let them guys be that way, So it was more like, times like that I had in them, in the gangs and off and on with the gang, with my gang people, partying, get in trouble, go to jail, get out, stay home. So off and on, I would say off and on with the gang. I really wasn't daily, because I lived on the east side in Crip neighborhood. I couldn't, and I didn't want nobody to know where I lived because I might not like I might not want to do something. And they say they're going to come and get you. So I didn't want nobody knowing where I lived or anything. And, when I first shot somebody, it was hurtful. I mean, I didn't think I was going to be able to handle it because this person had a life. He had kids, he had things, going on and all that. So it started getting to me, and I sat down and I told this guy, one of my friends, and I told him, and he started crying. Why did you have to tell me? And I'm like, because I just felt like it, and it worked. It's helping me. So please, just don't tell nobody. If I tell someone, if you tell somebody, then I'm sorry, bro, but I'll probably have to do the same thing to you too. No, why did you tell me? That was the first time I shot somebody, and it was getting to me. And after I told him it calmed it down, but then still I'm thinking, man, if this guy died, I'm gonna burn in hell. Oh well, might as well go party, go drink, get in a fight with people, whatever. Go rob somebody. Well, I never wanted to rob the one spirit people. I always wanted to rob the two spirit. Because back then it was illegal and you couldn't be a government worker because they would fire you for being homosexual. But there was homosexual guys that were in the Congress and were buying these guys by the Capitol building. They'd have a Republican or Democrat on their cards, their IDs. And I'd see that and be like, man, these guys, and it still happens today.
Yeah.
Probably worse. They'd spend $800, $1,200, maybe, I found $1,200, $1,400 on dudes. We'd go rob them because they'd be spending money on a piece of, sex with these other guys. They were guys. So these guys were buying these guys and wasting their money on a piece in where we were on the east side and we were Indian kids and we were broke and it was the ghetto, so we needed, you're wasting your money, we need it, boom, we're gonna rob you and take it. That was in a respectful gang way, I was doing, it's supposed to be evil stuff, but I wasn't hurting them. I would go over there and I'd put them to sleep, put a sleeper hold on them, put them to sleep. They'd go out and then we'd search them, take their money, or I'd go over there and hold them up while my brother and them searched their pockets. And I wasn't into hitting people or stuff, but while I'm holding them up, my cousin goes around and hits them. I'm like, man, why'd you have to do that? Man? Dang, now I have to change. But then after that, man, it's like, I can't. You guys are being too ugly with this stuff. You're gonna get caught. For me, it was like, I'd do things, and if it was to help my family or anything, I'd get away with it. If it was to help, I'd always get away with it. That was before me understanding the spirit stuff, I'd wonder why. Maybe it was because we needed it and they didn't, and they were wasting it or something, So in 1995, I was 24 years old. I've been to jail a lot for people, protecting people, helping them out and keeping them from getting hurt. And, I got scars, cuts all over. I got shot in my legs. I got nicked in my head. I got shot in my arm. All of these, stabbed in my face, stabbed in my shoulder, stabbed all over, so, but, that life is the life that I had, and I was tired of it. I was tired of going to jail and nobody taking up for people and nobody coming and helping me. And, while I was in jail, nobody writes me, nobody visits me, nothing. So that evening, I called. I wanted someone to call. Before I got out, I wanted someone to know I'm getting out and who cared. And so I called this girl who grew up with my mom. Her mom and my mom were best friends in Denver. And I grew up knowing her. So I was talking to her and she ended up telling me, hey, Duck, I noticed that you couldn't be yourself here. I know you couldn't. You have to be someone for someone else. I was a son for my mom. I was a Christian for my auntie. I was a Catholic for my other auntie. I was a funny, goofy guy for my sister, So, and then I was a gang member for this gang, my friends. And then, so I really thought of it and I couldn't be myself, So that girl told me, go dummy up and leave, go somewhere. And, I didn't know nowhere to go. I didn't think of nowhere to go, just wondering. I wanted to leave, I'm wondering where to go, where should I go? And so I prayed that night. I prayed, for different, better life. I prayed for a lot of things to be better, be better in my life, to not drink, to not, have to listen to these different people like, that cause trouble and don't know nothing. And anyways, I prayed that night, and the next morning when I got out of jail, I was in Denver County Jail. When I got out, I was caught the bus, and it was around 8 o'clock in the morning when I got out. And so by 9:30, I was at my sister's house. I go in there, I go upstairs, and I go in there and they're drinking. They're sitting there out the window and they're drinking. And they asked me to drink with them. And so I told them that, I don't want to drink. I don't want to drink no more. I don't want to do nothing. I'm tired of Denver. I want to leave. I'm tired of being in jail. I'm tired of all these different things. And so my auntie looked. She told me, that Duck, look at that car down there. You see that car? It's been there for 5 months, she said. Nobody knows what's wrong with it. You know about cars. You've been to school for fixing cars. If you start it, there's your ride. Go to South Dakota. There's good people. You got family. You got good people up there. So I told her I don't know. I don't know where to go. And she said, go to Rapid City. It's easy. You can go to Rapid City. If you can't find a reservation, go to Rapid City and go to Dee Dee's bar. And you'll find somebody, a family member, come in there, just tell them who your family is. And they know. They'll show you where they're at. And she told me to start that car, threw me the keys. I went down and it wouldn't start, no electricity, right? So then I went under the hood, and when I lifted the hood, I checked out the battery, and I don't remember positive or negative, but I know on this side when I turned it, I heard buzzing in the car. So good, there's juice, So I went in there and I tried to start it, and it was barely starting, vroom, vroom, vroom. So I pumped the gas some more and barely started more. Vroom, 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 vroom. It was more. So I was like, whoa. Turned it again. Vroom, 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 vroom. It started up. Vroom, vroom. So I started thinking, dang. And for reals, and what's happening, And because it just dawned on me that I can change my life. I can either stay here or I can go. I prayed last night. I prayed. And they told me about South Dakota, and so now I can go. While the car's still running, is this still what's all wrong with it? And maybe I gotta drive it somewhere. But then, if it works, I don't want to come back. I gave my word. I'm gonna leave Denver. I don't. And I was always about my word. So I sat there and I thought about going to my mom's and changing clothes, get my clothes, but no, there's my brothers and sisters and cousins, and they're gonna probably make me end up partying with them again. No, I don't want to do that. So I was like, I gotta say bye to at least my homeboys, my friends. No, they're gonna get me partying too, and I don't want to do that. No. So I just looked up, and my auntie and my sisters looking down from the third floor, looking down at me, and I just looked up at them and I waved by. And I waved by and backed up and I took off. It was a full tank and a brand new battery. And when I got to Scotts Bluff, I noticed I was getting low on gas, so I actually pulled in one of my uncles and I asked him, he gave me $20 for gas. So I put some in the tank, and the change I just took off. Made it to Dee Dee's bar in Rapid City because I didn't know my way around the reservation. And I went to the bar. They told me to. It was two guys on this. When you first go in, there's two guys, and then one woman. And when I went in, that one woman, when I ordered a pop, because that's all the change I had, the car was on fumes. It was almost, it was button, barely going, but I made it, So, anyways, when I went in there, I only had enough for a pop. So I asked them for a pop. While I was waiting and drinking that pop, that lady sitting there, she said, if I drink beer. And I'm like, no. Are you drinking? She said. She asked me, are you drinking? And I said, this pop. And she said, no, I'll buy a pitcher if you want to drink a pitcher with me. And I was broke. I didn't have money, nothing. I was 24 years old, and I was just changing. So I went over there. I never knew a woman would buy you stuff. I always had to buy a woman something. So it was different. And I went over there and I just sat with her and we drank, telling her about Denver, why I left. The bar was getting packed more and more. This is the same day I got out of jail. I prayed that night. I got out of jail and I went to my sister's, got the car. I was in South Dakota by The evening, was that was when I started believing in prayer. Why he said that's when my prayers began, was because I prayed for this. Around 11 o'clock, was maybe around 10 o'clock, my sisters and them walk in, and so I was like, Misty, she's like, Dawn, because we have a sister that was raised on the reservation. She had 2 holes in her heart, but all of us other kids were growing down. There was 13 of us, so the rest of us were all growing up in Denver, and that way, she was raised up here. So after everybody came in, that's who I happened to see, and told her my story of how I hated Denver and things, and so after that, she's like, well, you come back to the res with me. She said, if you don't like it, I'll bring you back up here. I know how you city people are. I'll bring you up to Rapid City, and, just 2 weeks. So I said, all right, and left with her. And when my sister brought me here, I started, she took me to the powwows. Powwows were going on, and she taking me around, and I'm drinking and girls and noticed the same thing I was doing in Denver, but it's different because we're going to powwows, and I'm like, no, it's the same thing, I can't do that. So about 4 months after I was here, I told my sister, I don't want to do this. I'm tired of it. This is why I left. I didn't want to mess with girls like that. I didn't want to party like that. I didn't want to fight. I'm tired of all of that. I didn't want to do that. I said, Misty, the next girl I meet, I'm going to try to be with her forever. I'm going to stay with her. And I don't care who it is, what they're doing or anything, I just want to stop drinking. I don't want to drink no more or nothing. And I ended up meeting a woman. I met her. She had 3 kids, and their dad, he passed away. So I told her, well, I don't care. I don't got kids. I can't have kids anyway. I was 24 years old, and nobody never told me I had any kids. So I told her, yeah, I'll help you raise them. So I started helping raising them. And while I was with her, I started being with her in November, and then that December, her brother was, her brother's supposed to be somebody who everyone's scared of or something, but anyways, I guess he didn't like me being with his sister or something. But anyways, he came on New Year's, and he didn't drink, right? And I was at my sister's, and I was drinking for New Year's. We were celebrating, and I said I wanted to go over there and tell him Happy New Year's. So I left, and I went to my kids' mom's house, and I said, her mom was the resident of that house then, but she was living with her mom. Her brother was living somewhere else though, but anyways, I went to say Happy New Year's to them. They were all drinking in the room, and I said Happy New Year's, took a shot with them, and here comes her brother who don't drink, and he comes in, and I'm like, hey, I hope you don't have nothing against me. I don't have nothing against you. Happy New Year, and then everything blinked out. And then when I came back to, we were getting pulled over. We was in a station wagon getting pulled over by the cops over here by Little One. And then I ended up in jail. When I got out of jail, I went to that house, and her grandma, uncles, everyone must have been talking about me. But I walked in, and they all stopped and stared at me. It was all quiet, looking at me, and I'm like, why is everybody staring, And they're like, you're not hurt. I said, why, should I be hurt? And they said, yeah. Do you remember last night? I'm like, what? No. I just remember this morning. Anyway, this guy came in, hit me, and I didn't go down or nothing, but I just looked at him and I started going towards him, so he took off. And then he called the cops on me. So I guess he hit me and whatever, so I was just mad. I don't do that to drunk people. I wouldn't do that to somebody who's drinking. I would never, and that's not fair. He don't drink. What's he doing picking on people? And I hated it because I'm coming from this, this gang life to res life. And so I was like, I don't care anywhere he's at. I'm just going to hit him. You guys are my witnesses. I'm telling you. So 2 weeks after that, he comes and she's, every day after that, every time he stops by, she's like, oh, he's here. Shuts the door. So I finally got tired of it the third time. So I got up and told her, I'm tired of this. You're always saying stuff. And so I got up and I put my shoes on and opened the door, and he's coming around, and I tapped him on the shoulder and he looked at me and I said, I'm sober now. And he's standing there, so I hit him and he turned in to call the cops, and I just left. And after that, then we were at her house in her room, and her brother's girlfriend comes over and asks us if she could take the kids with her to play with her kids. And so she asked me, I said, well, these kids don't have nothing to do with me and him. So yeah, go ahead. They're their cousins, their family. Go ahead. So she let them kids go out there. So we have a weekend, and Monday, the kids come, after school, the kids come back because they send them to school from out there. And so the kids come back. Now the next weekend goes by, they ask again, can we borrow the kids? Yeah. So we let them take the kids. They don't come back Monday. So we're after school, we're waiting. Where they at? Go to the school, they didn't show up. Okay, where they at? So we go to the jail. The jail, she comes out. She tells me, was you touching my kids? I'm like, no. What are you talking about? Was you touching, you know what I'm talking about. Was you touching my kids? I'm like, they ain't even my kids to whoop, why would I be touching your kid? You know what I'm talking about. I'm like, no. Do you love me? Do you love me? And she said, yeah. I said, well, why would you think of me that way? Why would you ask me this dumbass questions? I said, are your kids in there? Are they saying shit? Yeah. They saying you touched them? I'm like, whatever. I said, F them. I'm going to help you. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to help you. I'm going to prove that I have nothing to do. I didn't do nothing. So they took the kids. At least we knew they were okay where they are. Her mom and them, over the time and stuff, and her mom and them, how come you don't leave? How come you don't leave? Yeah, if I leave, I'm guilty. I didn't touch no kids, no way, And so, I think it was 2 days, they come and knocking at my door, the feds, and I answered the door. Can you come out here? Yeah, so I go out there. We want to ask you a question. Was you know why we're here? No. No, I don't, man. I'm all thinking, what in Denver, what did I do? And then they're like, well, we got a report that you were touching these kids. And I'm like, what do you mean? Touching kids, man. These kids ain't even mine. Why should I touch them? Well, do you mind telling me what a doo-doo is? And I'm all, a doo-doo? I don't know. I don't know. What do you call a kid? Well, what do you call a kid's private part? I said a thing. I never called it a doo-doo, man. Why are you calling it a doo-doo? He's like, well, will you do a polygraph? Are you willing to do a polygraph? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do a polygraph. I didn't do nothing to no kids, man, so sure. I'm not lying, no reason to lie. I said, you know what? I said, I'm a gangster, Eastside Crenshaw Mafia crew, blood from Denver, Colorado. I said, you look it up. You guys are the feds. You look it up. I'm a gangster, man. I've been in and out of jail for bullshit, bro. But I said, but we beat people up in jail for doing this stuff to kids, you know. I said, look it up, man. I said, I didn't come up here and I didn't commit no stupid things to go to jail. I said, all my stuff was fucking fighting and stuff, man. And I don't want that shit here. I said, let me know what happened to these kids, man. They left, and then 8 months later, that's when they finally, I was wondering when they're gonna come back and ask me, cause, you know, missing them kids, and it's simple, just fucking give them back, you know, let us find out, man. And so they did a polygraph test on me. They took me to the old hospital in Pine Ridge. And they took me in that room. They hooked me up to that machine. They asked me 4 questions 4 times. And each time, I noticed the first time, okay, these 4 questions, now they're going to ask me it again. So they asked me them 4 questions. The next time, they mixed them up. They asked me them backwards. And then they asked me them, you know, mix them up. Then the next one. So 4 times they were asking me. But I was all thinking, you know, I was younger and smarter then, so could have a lot of memory, but I was thinking, you know, why are they, you know, asking? But I was answering them, you know, these questions for them. And then he said, okay, let's go see your results. So get up and go see the results. You look on them. They have these 4 pages against the wall and tacked on this wall thing. And he looked at the bottom one. He said, hey, look at this one. I asked you if you thought of these kids in any sexual way, and it jumped. Why did it jump? What? Then I asked you if your name is Donald Hernandez, and it jumped. How come it jumped when I asked you that? When this, you know. So I'm like, no, you didn't. You asked me if I was Donald Hernandez, and then you asked me if I thought of them kids in any sexual way. And he's like, you can go. I'm like, wait, man, hold on, man. What the hell are you guys trying to do? What are you doing, man? How many people you do this to, you know? Because they're more like trying to make me admit something when, you know, if it wasn't for me, you know, paying attention to their questions and all that, because I wasn't bullshit, I wasn't lying, you know. I was making sure these are the same 4 questions like they promised me, you know. And so if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have probably been in prison for nothing, you know. And so
the way they had it set up was like a trap.
yeah, like they were trying to trap me in it. And how many people did they do that to, you know? So that was a problem for me, is how much are these feds helping victims, real victims, you know, real people that really get in, you know, that don't do nothing, that don't have nothing to do with something. How many people went to prison over that, you know, over a little, okay, I ain't lying, I'll tell you, in a polygraph. And so that's why the polygraphs are invincible, but then how much, for them to do that in front of me, you know, how much, that I lost all respect for him. But to find out that her sister went and told them kids to say this, you know, you kids say this, you know. And so, or I don't know what was happening though. I never really got stories from nobody, but all I know is that the report that the the Fed showed me, it stated things that wasn't even, like it was coached. Like, yeah, he touched me or he poked me in the butt and it hurt. And her son and two daughters, her three kids, that's who I was being accused of. And so, I was like, nah. And then pretty soon they found out them kids were lying. And we got the kids back and moved to Rapid City. We, everything was okay with the kids. And then in Rapid City, I got in trouble because I was protecting my home. And some guy came in there trying to fight over the kids while they were all sleeping in the living room. And he's trying to fight with my old lady and her girlfriend. And he's a big dude. He got me in the headlock and started choking me and stuff and squeezing hard. And big, heavy dude. So I couldn't help. We had a knife to open the doors, and I remembered the knife, and I stabbed him like that. If it wasn't for them going in my house and threatening, it was just, for me, I was trying to get out and call the cops, but that happened, so it was more of self-defense. Went to court, and they found me not guilty in trial. They acquitted me, so that was one of them. It was when my son was born in 97. So that was 1998. It was like 3 years after I left Denver. So it was living in the Rapid City too. And I just thought, I'm gonna protect my family. But yeah, we moved up to Rapid, and then I went to jail for that, and she ended up, the house, somebody burnt the house down. She borrowed a car and didn't take it back. She came to the reservation and didn't take it back to Rapid City. So the guy who owned the car burnt the house down. They accused me when I was in jail. And so I said, well, if I left and came back, wouldn't I be in a different room? And wouldn't you guys know if I left and came back? But yeah, other than that, came back, my woman, my kids' mom, them kids, she had 2 kids for me. And I ended up leaving her because she kept drinking. And I tried to go college. I went college 6 years. I tried. And each year I ended up having to drop because she had me babysit and watch my kids, watch her kids and my kids. She liked to drink. She take off all week and wouldn't come home. And so I wouldn't be able to leave. Nobody to watch the kids, nobody to help me out. So I finally got tired of it after 10 years, And so I just told her, finally, I gotta go. You like to drink, you like to party, and I don't. So I'm gonna go, So she let me go, and 2 weeks later she was getting married. 2 months later
Oh,
she was
wow.
getting married. Yeah, so it was like, wow, And then that was already 20 years ago. I really wish there was a way that we can reach into these hearts and minds of these homeowners, anyone who's head of household, who the people respect, because that's where things are happening. It's the head of the household. If I'm a head of household, and just because it's my son, is he gonna be able to leave and come back drunk? When I'm not leaving and coming back drunk. Why is he able to do that? And so I would talk to my son and tell him, you can't do that, not here. You have to do that somewhere else if you're gonna be like that. And don't never allow him back. Even if he's out there, if it's cold or anything, no. Make sure he's warm, make sure he's okay, but make sure he got somewhere to go, but don't let him back in that house. Because this is not what I do in this house. And so if everybody learns that way, then maybe we can have better housing, better neighborhoods, better kids growing up and looking out, you know. I was always taught to look out for kids. I was always taught, you know, them don't mess with them kids. You know, I was always taught respect them kids. So protect them. They're our next generations. They're our next grown-ups. They're our future, you know. They're our future. So. And that's what I'm trying to help my kids. My son, he drinks. He's living with his mom. You know, his mom just kept drinking. She's got cirrhosis now. My son, I'm glad he's not cirrhosis up yet, but I'm trying to help him. But it's just, I can't make him. I learned that I can't make nobody do nothing in this life. I can't choose who lives or who dies, but I can help. I can give them suggestions, you know, but I can't make my son do nothing. And I told him, I promise I won't. I won't try to make you do nothing, son. So I just always talk to him, and hopefully he's sober. He's been sober 2 weeks now. But I just don't know when it's going to be the next time. You know, and I don't want it, but I can't help it. He got to do it himself, just like I did, you know, understand. Put everything together and realize what's going on, you know. He's waiting for someone to come and help him, and it's not going to happen. He's going to have to get out there himself. He's going to have to stop himself. It's not I can and I can't. It's if I will and I won't, right? If you can and you can't, oh, I can do this, or I can't do that. It's only giving other people that power. You're giving your power to something else because you can and you can't. If you will or you won't, right? It's I will do this, I won't do this, you know. It's like giving that choice, that's your choice. I will, I won't, you know. And so that's what I learned when I was I went and volunteered to go to an AA class in here. That's what I told them, and they kicked me out because they didn't want me changing their perspective, you know. And so I know there's better ways we can do things. You know, we don't have to think of that ugly, bad, nasty, gross way. You just gotta be careful, be strong, be happy, and you'll be able to handle these things in this life, you know. If we had banishment, what happened to banishment? They're getting banishment back, but this banishment ain't as bad as the ones that are supposed to, right?
What do you mean by banishment?
Banishment used to be you leave and you don't come back.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But
yeah.
now they have limited banishment. They limit, 3 years, then come back. 5 years, then come back. But they're limiting who gets banished, right? What happened to the child molesters? You know, my niece came from Denver. I talked to them, told them how beautiful the reservation is. I always told them. So my sister comes and moves up here. Maybe about 10 years ago, she was living with my sister too. My sister who got me to live here, you know. But I left my sister because she was too questioned. My sister Misty here in Kyle, she was too much questions all the time. Where you going? What you doing? Who you with? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? What color were they wearing? Or whatever. You know, all these questions. Dang, you ask too many questions all the time, man. And, you know, it was always like that, so I'd leave. And then she start judging, start comparing, and I'm like, man, I don't feel comfortable, man. But when I was with my kids' mom, that's when, you know, I just start getting away from her. And so, anyways, my sister Sally was talking to her, and they moved up here, moved to her house. Misty was with this guy named Howard Rooks, right? and she married him. So they're husband and wife. Okay, my sister Sally comes and moves in with them. They're living in the house, right? My sister Sally has her daughter who has 2 kids, a girl and a boy. They start going to school at Little One. They live with my sister, I don't know how long, man. I wish I could get that right, but I know they lived with her over 5 years, right? So over the 5 years, I've been hearing about Howard treating these kids bad. Howard yelling at my sister. Howard, these things. And when I go to Howard, he's not paying attention to no kids or my family or nothing. Goes to work, comes back, goes to work, comes back. Howard really, they went to parks, they went these different places, Maybe he was a good guy to my family, But I always looked at him as a coward. And remembered when we first met, when he was first with Misty in Denver, and he went to the military. He was into the army. He tried it, but then 9/11 happened, and so he got scared and he was worried, and that's when he went. After the 9/11 happened, he signed up before it happened, and he had to go. Then he came back. I was never in combat, I just radar. He watched the radar, but he did have to jump out and see what people, military stuff. But he gets out. He's with my sister, and they're living. Okay. Last year, my sister told me that he was touching her granddaughter. And so Howard's on the council, right? There goes the government, right?
He's on the tribal council?
He was last year.
Oh.
So he was on the tribal council. This was before last year. But yeah, he was on the council, but he did this. I guess he went down to the basement and felt up my niece, and she woke up and seen him. So she called her grandma. Her grandma got up, and she seen Howard run up the stairs and into the room. She came up there. Misty was coming out of the room. Howard came out, went in the basement, was getting some stuff, whatever, coming by him, grabbing stuff and taking him outside. And Misty was looking at my sister and, just in shock. And my sister told her what Howard was doing. He touching her. She said she was touching her. And so Howard, I wasn't doing that. Then he took off. And while my sister told me this, so he took off, and then the cops came. They called the cops. So when the cops came, they went looking for him and couldn't find him nowhere. And he's on tribal council then too. So he would have been caught no matter what. But nobody seen him. They kicked my sister out and tell her to take her to the shelter out here. They tell my sister, you stay here, we're going to help you with your case. We're going to get him convicted. You can't get away with this. The police do their rape kit, do their report, take all the reports, everything, boom. There goes the feds. Here comes the feds. Okay, that. CI takes his report and goes, takes their report and goes. And they finally find Howard. Then since he's on the council, everything, they just leave him. They don't keep him in jail. Then they finally, they're waiting, why is Howard out? He's still doing his thing, man. Why is he out? Why didn't he go to jail? Then they finally get him indicted and pull him out of the council meeting. And they finally take him to Rapid City, to the federal jail up there. And my sister goes to court, and whenever my sister comes back, she tells me, yeah, Howard's sitting there. He's saying, yes, maybe. Did you touch her between her legs? Maybe I did. I don't know. I don't remember. Okay. Well, Howard's guilty. Good, he's saying that. Yeah, they asked him if his fingers were wet, and he said, they probably were. Maybe they were. I think they were. All right, he's gonna get convicted. But they found him not guilty. They found him not guilty of touching one of my sister's grandbabies. Kids, man. Kids know a lot. I was a kid, and I told you I remember a lot when I was a kid. So imagine all these other kids, you know, they know and remember a lot too. It's just helping them to grow and live this life the way we understand it today, you know. We just now that we've been through our suffering. You know, and then, but that's what it takes is suffering to understand this life when it needed healing. Like I said, you know, my stepdad, he whooped me. He whooped me for 10 years. After he stopped whooping us that 10 years, anyway, over some years, then he started suffering. He had a stroke, and after that, it just kept on having him. And so he ended up being in a wheelchair and then bedridden. And then when he was bedridden, his suffering just lasted for 10 years too. So that's what, you know, why I'm still, you know, still gets me more closer to understanding this life and the way we live it, you know. Might have gotten away with something, but we didn't get away with nothing. It might have been different in this life of what we did, but we'll still end up paying for it later on. Since 2007, my mom passed away. My sister today, she still cries for my mom. So in Lakota, we believe that if you think and feel about them spirit, that them spirits will be there. So my sister and I'm thinking and feeling about my mom, they're bringing her spirit back and bothering her. So when they bother my mom's spirit, then it goes to my brother-in-law. My mom's here, my brother-in-law missing her too. She's gonna be there for them too. She's gonna help them to live, but she can't control what they think or how they think. She's just gonna be there for them. So my brother missing her drinks, missing her more drinks. It's more of a cure because now his mind ain't even in that world no more. Now it's in this play world or this cricket world, you know, the drunk world. So he's able to forget that till he sobers up. And when he sobers up, he's still doing the same thing. Maybe he forgot that he drank because he was missing my mom or our mom, and you know, it's just they're suffering. They keep suffering because they were treating her bad before she left. And now she left, they didn't apologize. They couldn't apologize. They can't. So now they feel bad. Now they're going to drink. Now they miss her. Oh, this, that, you know. Now they're stuck with that spirit. Now that spirit won't leave them. Now that she's so comfortable with them here that she can't leave. Only way she can leave is if they slowly taper off with it. And so that's what I did with my mom, was that I loved her. I seen her drinking problem. I helped her. If she needed a drink, I helped her get it. You know, when this was when they gave her a year to live. I knew my mom's leaving me. She started drinking. I knew she's grown up. Mom, you're grown. Mom, you know what you're doing. Mom, I love you. I hate seeing you go out there and look for a jug. I said, no matter what, you know you ain't supposed to be drinking, but you're grown. You want a jug? I don't want you going out there getting it. I'll go get it for you. I don't want you going out there hurting. I don't like seeing you suffering, Mom. I don't want you hurt no more. We want you to stop, but you don't want to stop. I love you, Mom. Here, give me that money, I'll go get you a jug. Go get it for her, come back, sit there. I try to help her drink it up first, drink more of it so she don't have to drink that much. But she wants to drink. My mom just kept it up, so I loved her. I told her, Mom, I love you all the time. I told her I loved her. And that, I know, Mom. And so I went to jail, and then she passed away. And nobody tried to help me get out of jail. Nobody helped me go to her funeral up here or nothing. Nobody tried to, they would promise, but then it wasn't nothing. They just left me. So I just had to suffer in jail while my mom passed away and got buried. Yeah, but I wasn't the only one. I felt bad in jail. I cried for maybe 5 seconds. But I stopped, and I noticed that I wasn't the only one suffering, that my brother was in prison. He was suffering too because he wasn't out. So I got to be strong. I got to be strong in here. I got up and I went and played chess. The guys were all afraid of me, thought I'd be fighting with them or angry or sad or something, but I told them, don't even bring it up, bro. I don't want to feel that way. I just want to play chess, man. Leave me alone. It took them yelling at them to leave me alone. Because they felt bad for me, which, I respected that, but I didn't want it. I didn't want to suffer like that. I'd rather let it be respected and pray with it, That's what I was taught here. I was taught to do it in a strong way, in a good way, They're not gone forever. I'm not going to be gone. I'm going to still be here. I know I can be here. I know I can be around here, but my body won't be here, but I will. Another thing I want to talk about is about the way I was raised in school, right? And now that I'm here on the res, and now that I see that world out there and see that the world that I lived, the education, when I was being educated, right, it taught me how that addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, right, that separation, right, that greater than and less than, that rich and that poor. They taught me the value of money, right? So in order to get this addition, subtraction, or anything, you have to work. But it taught me, they taught me a lot about that, and it's not a correct way. They taught me to expect things, expect a lot. They taught me, you're going to go to the next grade, you're going to, go to this one's class, or whatever, to expect. So all my life I was expecting. I didn't realize it, but it's just the way they raised me. And so expecting that I can graduate, expecting that I'm going to be 18 years old, and expecting that when I graduate, my life is going to be this, boom, 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 And so once I turned 18, guess what? Nobody, nothing. It ain't the way they left me to expect it, So what do I do, What do you do? Everybody gets mad, gets angry, feels bad, or something happens when you set expectations and they're not met, right? You don't do that no more. You teachers out there, don't do that no more. Don't let us know that not, what's going to happen, what to respect, Respect the children, not expect the children. And teach us to respect life, not expect life, because it's not the way it was when you were a kid, Things changed and people changed, and we never realized that until we look back, We just, everything goes, things come up, things are there, but when we look back, our expectations wasn't met. And it hurts. And so instead of expecting, we respect. And that was one thing that I told the teachers at UW in Washington. I told them teachers, that's one thing that I want you guys to know. If you want to help indigenize education, then learn that about respect. I was late. Didn't have my homework, and I was punished. I was punished either way for not meeting them expectations for that them teachers wanted. If I did my homework and got a bad grade, the teachers wouldn't respect me no more because I didn't have that what they expected. So as long as I did it, as long as I tried, hey, let me understand that. Don't make it to make me feel bad or to hurt me. I didn't come to school for that. I came to school to learn better, to learn more, to be happy. This reservation taught me that. They taught me. I put these things together, and all these elders, if I need anything I'm worried about, I go to an elder and I ask them. Maybe about 6 months after I was here, my cousin asked me if I wanted to go to a sweat lodge and go to a sweat. Yeah, I'll go, man. I'm up here. Yeah. So I went to the sweat with him, and then I was going every weekend, and then, understanding it more. And I was to understand our people's way now, and I found a way to pray, was to be by myself. And I figured out that loneliness, that the reason why I was raised that way, was to understand that beginning, the spark in life, to understand that, because if it ain't for that spark, I wouldn't be here today, If it wasn't for that spark, I wouldn't be able to continue my life, to understand everything. That's where strength and power come from, is that loneliness, And so them tears of gladness when I'm alone, tears of sadness, they don't make no sense no more. Feeling bad about things, no. You gotta be strong with it, My niece got shot. Last night, she got killed. I'm not thinking bad. I remember them good parts. And I can't be there. I'm not there right now. I'm not, So the good thing is, that I'm still here. I'm sorry. I feel bad for what she's doing, what she did, the way she lived. But, at least it was respected, not expected, It was respected. Her life was respected. We, Lakota, are about life. We're about that spirit connection, that understanding of life out there. Because that life out there is what created us here. And that spirit, the understanding that the heart and mind together, can't do it separate. What I learned was when you think, it goes in your mind and out, When you feel, you care. And it's mostly what you care about. So if you care about something while you're thinking about it, then it can happen. Something can happen. You love it. You care about it. Think and feel. And then it can be possible. So your heart and mind together, and whatever you learn from your heart and whatever you learn from your mind, put it together. I learned my Lakota way. We always have our 7 values, and I just know I looked at Crazy Horse, and Crazy Horse had 5 values, and he used 5 values, and why do we have to use all them other values, and all this confusion, and put together these values of respect, wisdom, generosity, and courage. And if he had 5, his 5th one was bravery. And so understanding respect, wisdom, generosity, and courage, and in our Lakota values, and using them, saying that, yeah, since we have this, then I can use it. So it takes me to have respect, wisdom, generosity, and courage, put my heart and mind together to understand for something to be great, or for it to be okay, or balanced, or whatever you want to call it. But I call it spirit, understanding that connection, and boom, it's there. And I wish that I knew this way when I was growing up, because I wouldn't but then I'm glad I didn't. Sometimes I wish a lot that some things wouldn't have never happened, but then I'm glad they all did, because it helped me to be a better person today. I look at the good things of it, not looking at the bad or the ugly. These things that happened to me, they're no good. They were painful. They were suffering a long time, and even cut my hands right here in half on accident, and it was because I was praying. Because I wanted pain, because I stopped fighting, stopped hurting, and it was maybe, I'd say it was about 4 months after I stopped, and nobody was picking on me. I was in Rapid City. I didn't have no enemies. Nobody was yelling at me. And in Denver, it would always happen. So I was used to it. I was used to getting hit or hitting or hurting somewhere, my hands, my ankles, from playing basketball, or just, getting in a fight or something. And it was always my life, and I didn't like that. And so that pain I prayed for when I was missing it for 4 months, I didn't have it. Nobody threatened me, nothing. And so I was talking about it, and I told my kid's mom, I told her, please, I want somebody to yell at. I want somebody to yell at me. I want to pick on someone. I pray, I will, please God, let this happen, please, and I prayed for it. I prayed, I wanted that pain. I wanted to feel that pain. I wasn't having that pain, and it seemed like forever. Please, I just want something to happen. And I wasn't careful. And so I almost cut my fingers in half. I was messing with some guy in a gang, and he started talking stuff to me, so I threatened to stab him, and I grabbed a knife and I stabbed it on the table. Told him I could kill you, and I stabbed it on the table, and it slit my fingers in half.
Mm.
So there you go, there's my pain forever. I always have that pain now. Now I don't have to worry, because anything I grab or anything I touch, now I can have that pain. I asked for it, but I didn't ask for it the way I wanted it. But I got it. So gotta be careful with them prayers. Gotta remember the prayers when you're asking for them. So I'm careful for my prayers nowadays. Now I'm careful.
People from abusive backgrounds end up, like what you're saying, you become wanting that abuse still in some way.
It's addiction.
How do we break people out of that?
Like I said, I understood the value system. It took me a value system to understand when I was looking for spirituality. And spirituality is with me all this time, and I didn't understand that. So now I use them, use them values. And so, coming from an abusive family or abuse, and I'm talking physical, beating abuse. I'm not saying about rape, about sexual abuse. I'm talking about physical beating. If you to come out of that, just be proud that you're strong enough to live through it. You understand the feeling, what it feels like now. So now you're not gonna do that to nobody no more. You're not gonna hurt nobody because you know what it feels like. And you don't have to no more, because There ain't no reason for it. There ain't nobody here to be hurting that way no more. And then when it comes time for it, then you don't feel like it at all, and you know a better way, because it's not your business. It's not you. Call the cops. Let it be their business. Let it be them. You know, and there's other ways to protect. You know, and there's not. I ain't saying to be a snitch or be a cop caller all the time. It's just when it comes down to it, and it's live or die, I call the cops. When somebody's messing with my life and I care about them, and I don't want to hurt them, and I just don't want to go back to that feeling no more. I just call the cops, and then the cops will handle it. Let it, if they can't learn that way, then I don't know, I never got that far. So that's all I know, is that there's other better ways to handle it than having to do it myself. Once I learned about yesterday always being, now you can't go back. You can't go back. It already happened. Today's what matters. And if we're strong for today and we survived yesterday, we can be strong for today. What I learned is that tomorrow will always be there. So it don't matter about tomorrow or yesterday. What matters is today, to be strong, to be happy, to smile, to share, to be nice with it, and understand that all we're here to do is to protect life and to continue life in a good way. So I learned that. I learned to use these values, and I learned that being alone is really that strength. Be alone to remember the mistakes that we made and do them better next time. We can't do that with everybody. If someone tells us, and it only still ends up to us and ourselves. It ends up alone. We have to do this by ourselves. We have to, with all these people in this world, in this life, there can be a lot of people, but I'm still alone with my thoughts, with my feelings. And so loneliness is that strength, to get that strength to get along with what's out here, what's happening out here. I have to look inside and understand my heart and my mind before I can help someone else in their heart and their mind. And that's just how I learned, a better way of life. I just glad that I came to my Lakota ways, my spiritual way, because if it wasn't for that, I'd be, I learned not to cuss. Everything was an F word and a B word, and, it was always a thinking. My way of thinking was always to catch somebody when they're doing something wrong. So listening, and then keeping from telling these people, no, you're not right, No, I couldn't do that no more. I want it to be better. I want it to be different. So that's how, little by little, since 1995, this year's 30 years. 30 years I've changed, and so that's longer than I grew up in Denver. And so now I say I was raised here too, and I understand more about my people now, and so now I look at the people here, right? Now I become more connected to my culture, my spiritual ways. We Lakota, right? We travel with the stars in the buffalo. When we travel this earth, how can we get along with these other tribes if we didn't have the spiritual way, right? If we didn't go by our values, if we didn't go by our culture, our way of life, of respecting life, all life. I was telling them in Standing Rock, if you wanna be Lakota, all you have to do is come and learn our way. learn our language, learn our culture, and be, be with our people and help our people and, do it. And then you can be Lakota. Once you start doing the things our people did, once you start acting the same way our people do, then you're our people. You can't just come in and go to a ceremony and be a part of that ceremony and then leave and not help the people and never come back. But once a year, that's what people do. They come here and dance and pray and show off or get recognized or whatever they're doing, and then they leave. Then they have a hard time in their life, and then they come back and they have to pray more and more. And I know through my experience that, if you do that, if I came and I prayed and then I left and I was keeping that thought of where I was at, if I was thinking about it and feeling it or whatever, then that's because I left my spirit there. I keep thinking about it. I need to put that away. I need to start thinking better. I need to start thinking stronger, more happy, because I want that spirit to come back. Now I took my spirit back. So calling that spirit back is important. Anywhere you go, no matter where you go, your spirit's gonna be here. You're gonna leave this place, but your spirit's gonna be here. So you gotta be careful and take that spirit with you. Right? Be happy. Remember the things that were done, the things that were said here, and accept them in a good way. And then use them in a good way. And when you leave, keep it in a good way. That way you take that spirit with you. The spiritual part is looking back at, being in a sweat lodge and asking for understanding of why these things happen. Why was this going on? Why was that going on? And maybe it was preparing me to protect my people. Maybe it was about protecting, That's why, that's what I do. I do today. Protecting, it's what we need. What I learned from spirit, right? From my elders, from talking to, I can't blame one because I learned from all of them. And if I name one, I'm gonna have to name them all, and I'm gonna have to think of, So I just say, my elders too. I learned from them, from speaking to them about things that happened in my life, and they taught me to be stronger. It was to, protect my brothers and sisters. And I did. I grew up, and that's why, got stabbed and jumped and things, was protecting people, and protecting my cousin. For me, I look at it, and they told me, just look, and you'll understand, So using values and looking back and using these values to sort it out, I learned better to be humble in a simple way, I learned about life, how it was traditionally, listening to these elders and putting it together, that the men had their role, the women had their role, the two-spirit had their role, the dogs, the animals had their role, everything had their way of life, had their understanding of this life. So, Sweat Lodge really taught me how to purify my mind and my heart. It taught me how to put it back together again, and to put all that aside and to step up and walk this life again, try it again. Let all that bad go. Think about the good and try it again, so you can prepare your body and your mind, your heart and your mind to go in that place, to understand that prayers and that, you know. If something happens wrong during these seasons, then you jump in the sweat lodge. But you don't jump in there to be worried about what already happened. You go in there to understand what happened, not to worry, but to understand why, and so you can carry on, you know. So, you know, that was me, you know. I go to ceremonies, you know, when I go pray, I pray them 4 days, and if I have a problem, I go sweat. Remember, you're coming from out there. You're coming in this circle. You're gonna pray strong. It's sacred. We gotta remember this way. Gotta remember, don't do this, don't do that. So by that 4th day, you're ready to go into that circle. So no eating, no drinking water. You gotta prepare. Don't think of it. Just do it. You know. In 4 days of the sun coming up to the sun going down, how many prayers can you say? You know. So just think how many prayers I said. All them prayers in 4 days. After the 4 days, you can't just jump up and go to a concert or go around a group of a lot of people, because you're coming back from that spirit life. You're coming from that sacrifice, that ceremony. So you have to do it slowly. So by that 4th day, then you're able to, you don't go out there and say, oh, I just got done, son, that, telling everybody what you just proudly did, you know. A lot of people today get it all mixed up. They sweat every week and feel like they get so used to it, they feel like they have to every week, just like church. Sundance times where I went 3 years to a Sundance and they told me that you ain't supposed to get to be a medicine man unless it's given spiritually. It's not taught and given like that. It's given through the spirit. The people will see it. And then after the 3 years, now he's saying my 2 sons will be the medicine men for this. So that mixed me up. So I didn't go to that ceremony. The more they told me that you couldn't do that, and then they ended up doing it themselves. And so I went to a different one, you know. I didn't tell them or holler at them or nothing. I just went to a different one. That one wasn't good either, so I stopped. But stopping put me in prison. I went to prison because I stopped. You know, I did something and ended up in there, and when I got out, I never wanted to stop again because I learned, you know. And, you know, now it's just the prayers, you know. For me, for the world out there, I just always let them know that the new way of life is the old way of life. Because if we didn't have the old way of life, we wouldn't be here today. And so remembering, putting all this life here away, and remembering that old way and putting it, bring it back, and bring them back and put them together, right? We got these washichus, we got the spayolas, we got the hasapas, you know, the black, the Mexican, and the other ones who are half, and they want to be indigenous. If they want to be indigenous, all they have to do is care about this life, all life. Don't think that they're by themselves or nothing. Just remember that they're with all life. And to be strong and listen to the indigenous, because that's why we were here, because we cared about all life. We cared about the plants, the animals, the earth, you know, everything, you know, bringing life and being responsible for creating and being responsible for that which you create. Now we have things that are unnecessary, that just sit around and do nothing, and nobody uses it. And there's people out there who could use it. And we wore buffalo hide, we wore deer hide, our moccasins, our clothing, our housing, our, you know, everything so it can go back to the earth, and it goes back. That loneliness, getting back to that loneliness is we're all powerful. We all got that strength to do it. Suicide and things like that. I wish I could speak to these ones and they would understand that too, because it helped me. It helped me all them times I thought forget this. No, I wouldn't think of suicide. No, because things change. Things will get better. My mom always told me, and I witnessed. So looking at these suicides and these different ways these people are living. There's better ways we can. There's a better way to do it. You got to put your heart and mind together. I hear a lot of people say, use your mind, use your heart. Got to have a strong heart and strong mind. But I don't hear them say, use your strong heart and mind together. Strong in a good way. If I pray, I just have to think it and feel it, and it'll happen. Be strong with it and feel it. And I don't pray bad, because if you pray bad, you gotta pay for it. If you pray good, you gotta pay for it. I prayed for one time to see my family, because I miss my family. I wanted to meet them, and I cried in I was strong in my prayer. So 2 months, my grandma passed away. We seen about 350 people. I got a ride to Denver, pick up my mom. I seen my people in Denver, but brought my mom back to the funeral. I seen a lot of people, but it was in Nebraska, New Mexico, Texas. Them guys were missing. 2 weeks after that, my aunt, who was at the funeral, at my grandma's funeral, she passed away. And so I went to Nebraska, and I seen all them people there. I seen the ones from California, the ones from Texas, the ones from New Mexico. They all showed up. So I seen all my people. I prayed for it. I went Sundance. I prayed. That day I prayed strong. I prayed hard. And I got it that year. And I seen them. But they wasn't the way I wanted. I was expecting, right? I wasn't respecting. I didn't say, I want to see him in a good way, in a strong, keep me strong so I can see him in a good way. In a good way was all I had to say. But I just said it. And so they answered it. So that's what all these, and a lot of other things happened while I was here. And I started, after I prayed, to change my way. And so now I know that, it is true if you pray, as long as we pray, And so every day I pray all the time, what am I giving up for them prayers? Depends, For me, everything for me seems like it was spiritual, meant to happen. It was meant to be that way, because I stopped a lot of people from getting killed. I stopped a lot of people from being domestic violence. I stopped a lot of people from hurting themselves. I helped people leave the reservation, go get a job and come up, and be better. And that was the medicine that I had to share with them.
How did you help them? Did you talk to them? Did you pray for them?
I talk to them because I know that, everybody prays, prayer. So prayer is all the time for me. Prayer, when I'm in that spirit life, in that spirit world, there's no such thing as time. If I'm in that spirit life, in that spirit world, I'm looking down at this earth and I'm watching the people, and I got other things to watch out too. So I'm watching you as you go around that sun. There ain't no time in that. All it is watching you go around that sun, but while you're down there, you got this thing called time, because it has to go with this life and what the function of this life is. So that time isn't there when you're spirit, when you're praying. It's not about, I'm going to pray so something can happen Sunday. It's pray now and wait. And when you watch, when you be careful for them prayers, because they will be answered, then you watch for that answer. You wait for that answer. It might not be tomorrow, today, or the next day, or nothing. It'll happen. And there's no time in it. And that's where people get the mixed up part, is that you have to pray in order to get answers. And your answers are already there. They're always there. You know, we live this way. We live this life, but we're living it different here in this life. We live that same way up there, but we live it different here. That's what I was taught in school, in the Lakota courses, in school here on the res, about life being the same out there, but different here. The same way, same people, same spiritual thing going on. So here, I try to, understand when it's a time to be there, while I'm here, when it's time to be in that spirit. Now, there is no heaven, there is no hell, but there is a spiritual life. Now, there is no good, no evil. There is only confused. But we can do something, and we can do better with it. And there's better medicine to use. There's different medicine to use, so try it. A lot of things that I've seen and understand now about, like having bad dreams, they don't bug me no more. They don't, and I know that was because I was thinking of it. I used to have evil in everything in my life, thinking about, oh man, why is he doing that? Oh man, And so not myself thinking evil, but thinking about that evil around my cousins, my uncles, whatever, all of them. Robbed a store, or got drunk and wrecked a car, or stole their grandma's car or something, It's not evil. It's just not right. It's not the way it's supposed to be, but I know we can fix it. We can do better with it,
You and I view evil a little different, because I do think there is a spiritual evil keeping people in bondage.
That's one thing that I wanted to explain to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that our evil is a spirit, like I don't know if I said it right, but I know it's a spirit that believes that that's the way of life. So say someone passed away who robbed houses, they were burglarizing houses. So they passed away, now their spirit's it's lost. Maybe they committed suicide or something, so their spirit's lost, their spirit can go want attention. And they find out, boom, I could get attention with this guy. I'm thinking about breaking in the house right now. And so that guy turns and he hears it, and he turns and he looks at that house. And that spirit says, yes, it's right. There's some good stuff in that house, probably something you need. So that guy's listening to the spirit who comes into his life and helping him believe that. If that guy says, no, I shouldn't do that. You know how they say the devil and then the angel? That's what I'm talking about. Is that the spirit comes and tells you that this is the way to do it, but this one's telling you no. So if you push that one away and you don't listen, then it's considered good. But if you do this, it's considered different. It's not natural. The people don't do that. It's not, you need a ceremony. You need somewhere. Someone needs to talk to you and tell you, because that's not what we do. And that's the spirituality where, it's the evil, you just gotta, it's not evil, it's just different. It's not normal. I know that I came here to the reservation because I was lost, and they taught me about that. And it turned out being, I'm living I'm alive, so it, I love my Lakota way of life, and it's a way of life. And where people say it's a religion, it's not a religion. It's just a way of life that we're told. And keeping connected with the natural is what I think is heaven. Having all the love, and if somebody lived here and they loved and they connected or whatever, just everybody was getting along. There wasn't no evil. That's what we all want, man. We all want to feel. I don't know. Can't explain it right. It seems like I'm keep getting mixed up on it. But
It's sometimes this type of spiritual thing is hard to put into words, but I think love is the natural. Well, God is love. The Creator is love, and therefore,
love is spirit.
yeah, yeah. And that's when I asked God, what is this podcast about? He said, it's about love.
So it helps. If I go to the store and once I look at somebody, then that connection is wanted. But if they look at me and they say hi, then that connection is made, right? And so if that connection is made and that one person turns away and ignores it, then that spirit is left and wondering what and why, but then it goes away. But maybe that spiritual connection is supposed to happen. So if it's supposed to happen, then that's when you live to creation. Creation made it happen that you say, hello, how you doing, what you been up to, how's it going, and then you leave. Because maybe that little bit would have saved somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
That little bit.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I think and I feel, right? Think and feel strong about your prayers. Think and feel strong about what's going on today. Because if you're thinking strong about it, you're able to. So, thinking strong about the weather and about it being nice and hot and not even cold tomorrow, or even if you want rain, think about rain and mean it and think it and feel it and show it. Boom, it'll go up. It'll happen. And that's what I understand about this life too, is that if you're strong with it and you're doing it in a good way, you mean it, and that's where the power is. And when we used to, today we forgot how to get along with the air, with vibration, with telepathy, or whatever. We forgot that connection. We forgot how easy and simple it is to make it to that spirit world and back. These people say light years it takes to get to somewhere, but we can do it just like that. Just gotta be strong, think it, and feel it. I'm just glad that I grew up here. Had the chance to grow up here on the res, and now I can see life better out there. So it helps me live, and helps me help people understand more. I'm into English because nobody would understand Lakota. And if I speak Lakota out there, how are they going to know what I'm saying? And plus, there are different tribes out there. Am I going to go to speak Lakota in a different tribal place where they don't speak Lakota? I got to respect that tribe, and I got to help understand what they're going through, what their life's about. If I'm going to be Snohomish, Salish tribe, I gotta be, my woman's from there. So when I go up there, I don't go to Sweat. I don't go to Sundance. That's not our, Lakota ain't up there. We're down here in South Dakota. So that's where, you know, the things get mixed up. Is if I'm up there, I can say I'm Lakota. Can be proud I'm Lakota. But I can't have everybody together to have a ceremony in Lakota because it's not gonna work. Because them people have their own way, they were told. They have their own Salish, their own way.
Have you participated in their way?
Yeah. I went to their longhouses to have a ceremony. They invited me. They said, we don't invite nobody unless they deserve it, and you deserve it. I'm like, oh, I never noticed, but yeah, thank you. Had it giveaways, potluck. They have potlucks over there. They give them, went to their canoe journeys. Rode a canoe with them, their canoe journeys. So, you know, I noticed over there, that's where, you know, she's the vice president of the Snohomish tribe. So she told her tribe that none of them are being culturally competent. So you guys being culturally incompetent, I want to see you guys change and be better. And so they try to kick her out for that. They try to, what is that? Where they kick out the vice president.
Like impeach?
Yeah, impeach her. She's my old lady, she's a plant specialist and a cultural educator. So she's up there, Snohomish. And I start listening to her language. And her language has a lot of whoosh, whoosh, you know, and like Snohomish and Salish. And when she says schleach, whatever she's saying, speaking her language, you could hear the animals in it. And so together, I'm like, dang, you know what? In our yellow and hot, yellow, those are like strong. Those are like tough, strong, like a buffalo. So we speak the buffalo language, and you guys speak the ocean language, sea salt, you know. And so that's crazy. And then so I start looking at the Apaches and the ones down south, Pimas, and they're like, so they go by the language of their animals. The lizards and all that down south, they have their language. So that's what, to me, is, you know, understanding that that's how we got along. That's how we understood each other's languages, because we understood the animals. We understood the life. So making them sounds or making them movements and talking, we come up with our sign language together that we can speak, you know. So everything today, you know, things changing and our ways are changing. Change that in a good way to help people understand that we do accept you here and you are a part of us. We are all related. But we need to do these things together. We can't do them separate. If you don't like a black person, you gotta start liking black people. Don't mean you have to like that person, but you have to start liking them people. If you never liked them people before, then you have to start liking them now. You don't have to, but it would be a suggestion, because other than that, if you're not doing that, then you're gonna go live with them other people who have all that hate. They have all that difference. It's just, man, I always pray for some way that we won't see that color or race or religion or nothing, you know. Won't have that hate and nothing. But there are these people that are bad people. And at that time when I was born and the times before that, we were suffering. Now look at this life today, we're in a healing part. We're trying to figure out our water's bad, our air's bad, you know. We're trying to figure out how to clean that. We're trying to figure out we're all together, we might as well get along. We're trying to see how we can be together so we can get along. You know, now as a protector, right? As a protector, now was able to throw in my voice of what I thought with the UN about the earth and about the unbalance of this earth and about what we're doing to this earth and that it's in a wobble. And that was 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Today now they're finding it out that we are off balance, that we are in a wobble. And if nothing would have helped me notice this or see this, or even something can help you see this if you look at them values, if you look at this indigenous life that we live. We're caring about the earth and the way it moves and the way she dances and the way she shows off for the universe. Let's care about that instead of caring about this material stuff we're overdoing, and we're filling these landfills and these trash all over. We call it trash, and it's just material things that people invented or created, and they didn't know nothing about creation, so they're gone. They're gone, and they're not creating, but that creation is still here. What they left. They left us with a messed up world. Now we're responsible to clean it. We have to clean it, clean the water, the air, the earth, and the spirit. That's what I do today. That's my life today, is to protect with these values of respect, wisdom, generosity, and courage. That takes me what it takes to protect water, air, earth, and spirit. Our water, our air, and the earth are in trouble today. We need to protect them. And we need to start somewhere. And I start with spirit. It's the spirit we need to connect with. It's the spirit we need to strengthen up to understand the hurt that we're doing in this life. That's all over. That has to do with suicide. That has to do with homicide. That has to do with everything. With all life. You know, looking at these feds, you know, they're looking at the United States government, right? They've always been trying to get rid of the Indian problem. So when that Indian problem became a real problem, and you had red power coming up, you know, all these other movements, indigenous movements, they send in their infiltrators. Remember in the 70s was James Bond, all them spy movies. Mm-hmm. People were being spies. A lot of people were racist. So they put in a spy in the AIM. When the AIM went down to Custer, when they went to Custer and they burnt down that's when. So federal documents can prove that they put David Hill in there. He's an infiltrator. And then David Hill recruited these other two in Denver. So, you know, so we're looking at these federal documents and, you know, being, you know, now I'm with my res, I'm with my people, now I gotta help my people. Now, one of them things in protecting my people is to help them understand that we're being used, we're being abused, and nobody's caring. Look at our bad water. I just did a soil test on our water. It's 5 times over the health limit. It's 5 times, it's bad. This water is bad. That's why you see people drinking normal water. Bottles of water now. They're not gonna go to the sink. We're not gonna wait for it to change any colors, because we're doing our own test and we're telling our own people. The government's not telling us. Nobody's mentioning it in the news, but somebody needs to understand. Somebody needs to, you know, this government is not helping us. They have this, okay, they're gonna die of cancer, they're gonna die of diabetes. Yeah, okay. They don't know that their chemicals they're giving us are doing this. So, you know, raised on the res now, you know, it helps me. Let's do this in a better way. Let's not be against these feds or against the hospitals or against them. No, let's be against the people who are really causing it. The psychotic corporate executives who are running these things. Let's go after them and get in their heart and in their mind. Let's attack their heart and in their mind, and let's put their heart and mind together so they know that what they're doing is wrong. And the way you can do that, if you can't get to them, go to their family, it'll get to them. You know, understanding cooping. When you coop somebody, you give that spiritual connection. You shake somebody's hand, they're going to remember you later. That, oh yeah, that guy, yeah, I remember him. I seen him. Remember he shook my hand, you know. And you remember, so cooping, understanding the cooping and the connection with that spirit, that you always have that connection. So that's why you gotta be careful. Be careful with your spirit and who you give it out to and what you do with it, you know. That's what I understand now. You know, they're getting rid of the meth that was causing these people to escape their reality. They're losing that spirit, you know. Their spirit is being taken away, and in the cities I see them legalizing them drugs. And so these people, they're not robbing stores or liquor stores or anything. They don't want to get drunk or anything no more. They want to get high off of the fentanyl and meth. And so the government, by letting them these illegal drugs go and letting them stay high, they're getting these people becoming legal drug addicts and then having this problem in the city. Now, what are we going to do? We got all these rich ones complaining about their motels. I want to build a new motel over there. How come that motel's still there? So they send these homeless, okay, let's figure it out. Okay, we're going to buy this motel since it's not doing good. We're going to buy it from these people and we're going to turn it to a homeless for people who are on parole, probation, and homeless. So they start turning these motels in, they buy them up and then start giving them for the homeless. Now the homeless are out there living for free, eating for free. Nobody's complaining because they got all these programs. But they want to complain about us Indians getting money for free. But anyways, they're in the city is controlling them by feeding them these drugs, making it okay, letting them do their drugs because they're not doing no crimes when they're high on these drugs. Now, what are they gonna do when these people, the time comes when that homelessness is up and your lease is up and you gotta let us build this new motel there now. Now they're gonna kick these homeless out. Now they're gonna have nowhere to go. Hey, you know what? In 1937, they wrote this 100-year treaty with our tribe for BIA, IRA, government help, housing, health, and education. That was what the government was willing to help us if we signed them treaties. No more war or nothing against the government. So now it's getting to that time, they're going to take away the reservation. It's going to be given to the state. So the state would have possession over tribal lands. And the tribal land would turn to state land. And the private owners, the ones like me who have land, that land's going to be sovereign. And it's never going to be able to be taken from me no more, ever in the whole life. And so I could sign it over to whoever, if not, it goes to my oldest, but it's going to stay. Can't get rid of it, can't sell it.
So in 2037, the Lakota reservations are going to be turned over to government property, basically?
Yeah. the 100-year treaty's over. So we got to come up with another treaty or a constitution. And what I was wondering is, why ain't we trying to bring up traditional government? The way it is now, we got to look at it in a better way. And instead of trying to say this is Lakota, we got to say it's all of ours. We can't, I'm not thinking about the IRA, BIA stuff. I'm just thinking about a better way to help people. DNA, man. We never had blood. We never, never really told anybody, hey, let me see your blood. Oh, you look Navajo. You don't look Apache, It's not. We never did that. Never drew blood and could tell. It's, that's colonial way. It's that division to divide and separate. And, the greater and the less, to separate that. To divide and separate the money from no money, the rich ones from the broke ones, and just to have that division and separation so you can continue that control. And that's what I think it's about in this life today. It's about control. Who can control what, or who knows what? And if you don't try to be none of that, I don't try to be none of it. That's why nobody's really paying attention to me. I know I'm not the best, but I know I have to try to be with these people that understand this way, who try to help this life continue. Not about just, I gotta go do my 9-to-5 work, not working every day and being proud, and while all of this other stuff's going on,
Are you working with any organizations right now, the way you're protecting people, or how are you going about what you're doing?
Well, I'm looking at a bigger picture of the protection, because I can't be there for everybody all at once or anything, but I can be there at once, right? I can't be for everybody at their place at once, but I can be there at once. That's how I picture English. And the way I can be there at once is to help, like I said, to protect the water, air, earth, and the spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one way that I'm trying, and that I know that's working, is through hemp. Hemp helps the water, helps the air, and it helps the earth. Remediates the soil. It filters water. It pulls the carbs from the air, cleans the air. And educating these people, educating them, and helping them to stop using these other plastics and stuff that don't decompose, and let's go with hemp plastics. Let's build our houses instead of cutting all them trees down, or waiting for them to get old or whatever. Let's use hemp. Let's build it with hemp. They're making hemp wood, hemp plastic. They're making hemp everything. These couches, the upholstery, the curtains, they got everything made of hemp. So that's my way of looking at a bigger picture to protect my reservation. And they don't have to do nothing. They don't have to go out there and suffer and do physical work for something when they're, now they can be lazy and sit around if they want, but growing the hemp and making a better reservation, continue that. And if they want to jump up and help heal our reservation, or help create jobs, or help our economy, then grow hemp, And that's the way I see it, And so my everything that I was doing in protecting and stuff, now I'm looking at it better. Instead of going to these people and arguing with them, no, I'm gonna just go ahead and do this hemp. And like they said, they got ears and they got eyes. I'm gonna go do a workshop. So we do a workshop and we invite these people. Here they come. Boom, they got ears and they got eyes. Now they're gonna go tell everybody. Now everybody will see what I'm talking about. Now everybody will come and do what I'm doing. And that's a way to protect. That's the Tokala way to protect, protect the people. And, it's not important if they know it's you or not. It's just if they listen, if they understand. That's all I want, I want someone to listen. And that's what was getting to me earlier was that, dang, man, at least somebody's listening now. At least I can talk about it and someone can listen, And another thing that I'm doing is I got a nonprofit. It's called People with the Confluence, where these values that I mentioned are being practiced, with me, with my board. And the thing I told them is that we use these values and we mention every time we have a meeting. I want somebody to mention, this went to the store and I dropped my candy and this guy picked it up for me. That's generosity, right? And so I recognize that generosity, and so, yeah, that's at least one thing we gotta recognize, we gotta notice, because that's how I did it, I start noticing what is respect, what is wisdom. It's my wisdom. What is generosity? It's just me being generous, sharing that respect and wisdom, What is courage? It's just doing it, getting it done, So it's simple. Boom, boom, boom. I know I keep saying that a lot, but, it's the main thing, main part of me that got me going and keeps me going is having their values, And so understanding that, and now I've been accepted into Oyukhbe Tokala Kit Fox Society, a protector of my people. I always accepted my life as being a protector ever since I've been protecting my brother and my sister from getting whooped, and I've been, risking my life for people. And so, there was a reason for me to be here. I can't get mad or angry or sad or nothing for the way I was raised. I could only be happy and glad because it helped me learn about things today. Now I can help. Now it made me more powerful. Now it made me more stronger. So now I can do it, and that's the only thing it took me, is to get these values and understand the new way of life is the old way of life. So that's it for me, That's my life, is the old way. I'm trying to live today with them old way values. I can't live everything. I'm not saying to go back to teepees and horses or nothing. All I'm saying is to take them values of the way we thought spiritually when we were spirit people. When we were that dreaming nation, the ones who went off of the dreams and the visions, when we wasn't trying to give people an illusion. We was trying to give them the natural truth and what life is about. And that's all we're trying to do today. All we're trying to do today is help people understand about this life and how we live it, how we used to, how we know, because we're gonna lose these ways. And if it wasn't for me coming back to the reservation, I'd probably be dead or in prison too. It wasn't, I don't think it was my choice. I think it was Spirit's choice. Start learning about life and caring about life and seeing it from the spirit life, from that spirit world, from that other life. So looking down at what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and wanting to be better. My mom named me Duck. When I was growing up, everybody's thinking of Donald Duck. So Donald Duck, it was okay. I liked it. They thought it was cute, or it was whatever. But then when I started getting older, I never hated it. It was just that I was Duck. I was the only one called Duck, and everybody around me I was the only one. And that's why I'm able to be me today. I'm able to help people duck, and I'm proud of that name. I'm helping them duck before they get in trouble, before something happens. I hope I could be there. I hope I could be there when people need me, but I'm not. I'm only one person like you. You know, if we could all learn this way, then maybe we can all help everybody too. You know, it's not being about the best or being the most right or anything. It's just about surviving and understanding. You know, we gotta protect each other. You know, it's all we got. Show us that happiness and show us that strength, and we'll be all right. But that sadness and that anger, it don't show nothing. It's not there for anything. It's just an illusion.
Protector of my people. From where does such an identity emerge? Is it by the accolades of this world? By wealth, status, sexuality, power, fame, possession, all the measurements of Western societal worth? Or does it pre-age modern civilization and the dawning of humanity on Earth? A bright light burning beyond the cosmos of consciousness, fitted in timeless adoration to a spirit child whose life was written before born by the hand of the one he or she calls father, or if Lakota, grandfather, Tunkashila. Who will you allow to dictate your identity? The world for which you are never enough? Or your Creator who sent you into the world to be more than you could ever imagine? Wupila Tanka, Duck, for sharing your special story and all your beautiful wisdom. Expecting versus respecting. I can and I can't versus I will and I won't. The strength and power and loneliness. And putting your heart and mind together in prayer. So many things Duck said that I think are very important. Not to mention the Lakota spiritual values, respect, wisdom, generosity, courage, bravery. I've listened to Duck's story several times, and there's just so much to really think about. And although he and I had much different upbringings, I can really relate to him in so many ways. The loneliness and the spiritual awakening. His Lakota, mine Jesus. But I think if we respect each other's beliefs rather than expect the worst of our different beliefs, the truth will bring us together, not drive us apart. And I've got to admit, I probably learned more from listening to Duck than I have from being in a church lately. Maybe in part because I'm jaded by the soulless spirituality of Christian religiosity. But I think it's also because I see in Duck someone who truly seeks. And when you seek, you find. And Duck's found a lot. I do believe Jesus is coming. Not the one who raped and stole the identities of all the world's indigenous people, but the Jesus who lives your every century of pain with you and will wipe away all of your tears so you can finally forever be you, Gizagan Star.